Welcome to a journey in soul discovery. I'm your host, Adrienne Nicastro, from Pathways to Inner Peace. We each have the power within us to transform our lives. Our desire to grow brings new opportunities, journeys of metamorphosis that arrive special delivery from the universe. Through your intentions, the world heard your call, leading you to this podcast and the adventures in soul discovery that you'll find here. Support, guidance, and practical tools for living and navigating our human world with more love, peace, and joy. This is what I endeavor to offer. I hope you find what you're looking for here. For more information, please visit me at www.pathways2innerpeace.com. Be blessed. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's podcast on anger. These are very uncertain times. And like many people, you may be experiencing a lot of anger, frustration, or irritation. Maybe it's relegated to some kind of loss of work or being furloughed. Or perhaps it's because you have a business and it's been highly affected. Perhaps you're even overworked, being part of the medical scene, forced to work long hours and help so many sick people. Perhaps it has something to do on a close-to-home personal level with friends, with family, or neighbors. Perhaps you've experienced your own illness and the tiredness and frustration that comes along with that. Or perhaps it's even because of the political scene and changes around being stuck at home, isolated from friends and family, and typical social outings. Whatever the case, this podcast today is dedicated to being able to look at your anger with authenticity, with courage, and with a sense of acceptance, knowing that you are indeed human. And anger can be part of your experience, and you can handle it, express it, and find a way to let go of it. I'd like to begin with a quote by Maya Angelou, and it goes like this: "Bitterness is like a cancer. It eats upon the host, but anger is like a fire. It burns it all clean." Irritation, outrage, impatience, resentment, frustration, annoyance, indignation, animosity, and fury are all forms of anger that we encounter throughout our life. A challenging emotion to experience as well as express for some, anger remains a normal and very human reaction. Everyone navigates anger in their own unique way, relevant to the themes and experiences of their lives. Specifically, the messages we receive about anger from childhood authority figures, from society, the media, and spiritual or religious practices mold our expression of it. So perhaps this makes you think of times in your life as a child and adolescent, what you were told about your own anger, what messages you received in church or through other spiritual leaders, from teachers. Most importantly, how we witnessed anger from others in our childhood, what direct or indirect messages we received about being mad, as well as the consequences of verbalizing or acting out our irritation or annoyance. they're just a few of the influences that everyone faces. And becoming familiar with your personal influences, your history and relationship with anger based on what you learned is going to become really important in how you deal with anger today. While we may discover our personal brand of difficulty with feelings, expressing or processing anger, society has distinct ideas about how women and men, girls and boys, should handle and express this emotion. Women, for instance, can experience challenges due to varied gender-biased messages, like the, quote, "good little girls don't get mad," end quote. These are interjects or don't messages. Absorbed as an early mindset, these carry into adulthood to create guilt and anxiety regarding anger. Even when we as females learn to consciously reject these early messages, changing our mind about them as we grow up, remnants of them can linger and send tendrils into any of our current behaviors and reactions, creating conflicted feelings about anger or its expression. Additional deterrents may arise through a commonly held mindset in the workplace or social interactions where females who express their frustration or annoyance risk being labeled as bitchy, hormonal, or, quote, on the rag. Anger, my friends, is a human emotion, and as such, everyone experiences it. The presence of a uterus does not inherently signify this emotion's absence, regardless of what we are taught. Furthermore, the patriarchal society that appeared to perpetuate the belief that anger stands only as a manly attribute will hopefully continue to fade. Regardless, women must get to know their anger, finding the courage and space to clearly look it in the eye. This embraces the archetypal energies of Lilith, the biblical representation of women's equality, and the goddess of the dark moon, who calls forth the energy of self-assertion and the emergence of our shadow self. As the first wife of Adam, Lilith refused to submit to the missionary position, demanding equality, even in the bedroom. Astrologically, she sings an inspirational song to all women, a potent melody reminding us to stand in our truth and shine a light on our darkness by urging us to explore the anger that covers the high self. Then, anger truly serves to move us forward, utilizing it constructively, spiritually, and/or vanquishing it to serve our highest good. Personally, as a child, more so a young child, I had very volatile surroundings. Parents and grandparents whose anger came out aggressively, violently, and terrifyingly for a small child. As a result, experiencing my own anger through teen years and my 20s, I had a very solid cap of anxiety that would surface when that anger showed its face. It took me years to figure out how to deal with my anger constructively and safely without becoming overly anxious. So if you're listening to this as a female, think about for a moment what your experiences have been with anger, what messages you might have gotten as a child, and how you experience now the anger that surfaces in you, or have experienced it in the past, and perhaps how it's changed and how you'd like to change it currently. Now moving on to men. Men, on the other hand, impacted by environmental influences like women, encounter messages regarding anger at the other end of the spectrum. Men in general expected to embrace anger as a quote-unquote appropriate masculine quality may lean toward or against the messages that communicate that anger equals assertiveness or initiative, a proverbial call to quote-unquote be a man. As a result, sensitive males, especially boys who behave more gently, quietly, or non-forcefully, may be condemned and labeled as feminine or quote-unquote sissies, while others who fall into line with an alpha male mindset may be rewarded for their anger, confusing aggressiveness with assertiveness and force with power. So if you're a man listening to this, what do you remember about your childhood and the messages that you received from friends and family, from school buddies and teachers, about how you handled your anger? Did you fall on the quieter side and become labeled as too feminine or not strong enough? Or did you find yourself with models of toxic masculinity, where aggression became the norm and expected from you? Regardless of whether we're male or female, the rapid vibration of anger can motivate us to action, to take a stand, or to set boundaries for ourselves when used prudently. At times, it may serve as a virtual passageway, moving us out of a situation that does not serve our highest good. And when anger's time of service comes to completion, we can thank it, release it, and rest in the assistance it provided. In general, when transforming anger or any emotion to its highest expression, which is love, we must be willing to feel however we do in any given moment, accepting where we are. Acceptance helps us connect with how we feel, and then subsequently witness any situation as temporary and cleansing. Let's not, however, confuse acceptance with adopting a permanent state of any emotion, but rather as an opportunity to understand our perceptions. The way we perceive any situation fuels our reactions. Acceptance of our internal climate and whatever we experience must be embraced as our temporary creation before we can release it. And as we acknowledge our feelings and emotions, we can step back to observe our experience and gain a clearer vision of where it is meant to lead us, learning the lessons of life. So we begin by allowing some freedom of expression, intending that this podcast will help you bathe in the light of discovery with no harm to anyone as you explore the anger and the frustration that's currently in your life. This is a time of pass-through for deeper understanding and transformation. So let's now find the space and create a way for you to explore the hostility, jealousy, irritation, frustration, and maybe even some rage. I hope this space serves you well. Now let's move on to the journeys that can create that space. Take some time to find your way back to your sacred space in your home or your office, wherever you've created it. Or go to a place where you can be quiet and removed from foot traffic, noise, a place that's safe. That would be a really good word. A place that is safe for you to explore. We are here to set the intention to express anger in a way that harms no one and provide a space to allow you to place your anger to express it and give it a home. So grab some paper or your journal and consider having a page that is dedicated to anger. This is your place to rant and rave, knowing that you can return to that space on paper again and again as you navigate any exploration or soul discovery. On that page, scribble, write, color, graffiti, swear, create a dialogue of all that helps you express anger in whatever way you're drawn to. You can even use additional pages when that feels right. So as you do this exercise of scribbling and drawing and swearing and writing, whatever it is, remember to pay attention to the thoughts, any other emotions, body sensations, and internal chatter as you go. And allow yourself the freedom to express. And when you're finished, we'll move on to Journey 2. And now you can pause the podcast. Journey 2, Reflections. Journal about your experience with Journey 1, scribbling, drawing, and writing out your anger. Consider the following questions. How did you feel while you were getting your anger and frustration onto the paper? What experiences did you recall? Did you remember situations, current conversations, old events, or something happening in the now, or your recent time frame? How did you feel after you did those experiences? After you wrote and scribbled and drew and reflected? Did you have a sense of relief? Or did it draw something else forward? You may want to pause to give yourself time to answer these questions. Now, what old beliefs about anger from childhood authority figures did you remember or hear chattering at you? They may have surfaced as a voice in your head or negative self-talk that said, "Oh, you're so silly," or "This is wrong," or "You shouldn't feel that way," or "Anger is bad," or "You're bad." After you write about that, what might you tell the critics that you've internalized? Can you tell them to stop? Or can you merely give yourself permission to feel however you feel and say that it's okay, it's transient? Pause here to give yourself some time before moving on to Journey 3. Journey 3. Taking your anger out. This is an opportunity for you to express anger and frustration in a very safe way that's more physical. This is a chance to take your anger out into the world like the woods, to the gym. And if that doesn't feel quite right or safe to you, I'm going to ask you to go into your bathroom. So let's start with the bathroom as the safest way to express. Take a fresh carton of raw eggs into your bathtub, or take water balloons filled with water. Set your intention once again to be able to express freely and openly with a sense of safety, to do no harm to anyone. Allow the anger that you're processing to surface in you. Climb into your shower and throw the water balloons or the eggs as hard as you can. And watch the water or the egg yolks or the inside of the egg go down the drain. Taking your time to throw each item thoughtfully and allowing the anger to be infused in each of those items, whatever you've chosen, the eggs or the water balloons. When you're finished, obviously clean up the mess because you'll have somewhat of a mess to clean up. And journal about your experience. Did throwing the eggs or the water balloons help you release any of the anger? How much did it help you release? And would you use it again in the future to let go of something that doesn't serve your highest good, especially anger and frustration about current or old circumstances? Pause here if you'd like to try the other parts of this experiment, taking anger out into the world. Taking anger out into the world is another opportunity to release what's in you that doesn't serve your highest good around the irritation, frustration, and anger that you may be holding on to. Taking it out into the world, if this feels safe to you, means giving the energy voice through activity. For example, you could take your anger to the gym and express it with each heavy step that you place on the treadmill, on the stair climber, on a bike. You could even place it with the lifting of the weights, and release the frustration each time you lift that weight or move the machine that you're on, putting all of your effort and energy into letting go of it and expressing it physically. You can also take your anger outside with running, playing football or some kind of sport. As you throw the ball or hit a baseball, put the anger into that ball to let go of it. Or as you hit a golf ball across a yard. Another option is to take a handful of rocks into the woods or into a backyard in a safe area to not hurt anyone, especially yourself or others, and throw the rocks as hard as you can into the underbrush, allowing the exertion of the physical and the energy of the anger in the rock as you let go of it, throwing it with all your might to let go of the anger that you're holding. If you've chosen taking your anger out into the world to release it, be sure to also sit and journal about your experience. And if you've used the anger release in the shower and the anger release outside, you can sit and compare which one felt like you got more relief and released more. Or do you want to try one of the other experiences and see how that allowed you to let go of that anger? Well, I hope you found this podcast helpful, and it's given you ways to manage some of the frustration and irritation that you're navigating now. For more helpful tools, please look for other episodes listed in this podcast station. And as always, be blessed. That concludes today's episode from A Journey in Soul Discovery. Thank you for joining me. I welcome your comments, your likes, your follows, and anything you would like to share about what you found here today. I hope you discovered what you were looking for. For more information, please join me at www.pathways2innerpeace.com. Thank you for letting me share my love, my passion, and my light. And as always, be blessed.